Hello, hello, and welcome to a weekly recap of this week. We will start from 1st of August to 5 of August, and we will go through individual trades. We will look at what we did right and what we did wrong, and how can we progress in coming weeks. So, if we look at our trading history, starting from 1st of August to 5th of August, we took around 19 trades. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 trades were winners, and rest of the trades were loser, around 12 trades. And we made overall profit on this week around 17 US dollars, lost 11 US dollars to commission, and it was basically a break-even week. And finally, we were able to close this week in 5.55 US dollar profits. However, I basically learned a lot of things in this week regarding risk management, and now we will go over individual trades and look to see what we did right and what we did wrong. So the first trade was taken in London session on 1st of August in GBP/JPY. If we go back to 1st of August, so yeah, this was our 1st of August. We basically have two zones at that point. These were our zones. I was basically anticipating shorts below this area just by looking at higher time frame, as higher time frame trend was bearish, but those shorts didn't play out as I was anticipating, and prices do moved up, and I was anticipating that we basically moved up to retrace in a downtrend. If we look at H4 time frame on 1st of August, right in here, I was anticipating that we will drop. These were the trades that were taken on GBP/JPY on 1st of August, and so it was actually a second trade. So let's look at second trade first. So this was a trade taken on pattern 2. Pattern 2 is basically a in a trending market we are looking for retracement to execute a trade in direction in line with the trend, and this is what I have done. I executed this trade. I secured around 15 pips on this trade, made around 10 US dollars profit. It was no drawdown instant profit trade. This was basically 5-minute move, so yeah, it was easy. However, I basically lowered my lot size because I wasn't confident on this trade, nor did I have risk management skill at that time as I have now. So that's my whole reason to execute with lower lot size. Second trade was also taken in GBP/JPY in the anticipation that the bearish candle has broken below previous low, and there was probability that we will keep pushing down to fill this range almost 50 pips, but it was basically a losing trade. I didn't manage my risk on this trade on third trade to my full potential, and yeah, these two trades were taken in GBP/JPY, and third trade was also taken in GBP/JPY, where I executed this short in the anticipation that we will now continue pushing down because we basically consolidated a lot, but it was also a wrong trade because it was basically taken just in an anticipation, although the previous candle closed below all these candles to left, but still I could have waited a little bit more for more accurate confirmation. If we look at this trade in M5 time frame, this is where the trade was taken. It went in like 11 pips profit, and once it basically hit my break even point, I should have closed everything, but still lost around 3 US dollar on this trade, and it was sort of break even trade, and it makes sense at this point to execute on this trade because this M5 candle just closed below all M5 candles to left side, but it was a loss, and managed my loss, managed my risk very well on this fifth trade, and on the same time two trades were taken in gold on 1st of August. If we go back to 1st of August, yeah, right in here. So this was an area, and at that time we basically created this area. Prices break below these areas and closed back inside the range. So basically this was executed based on pattern 1. Pattern 1 is basically we fake out below the zone, close back inside the range, and this pattern indicates that we will continue pushing up in the opposite direction of fake out basically. So this trade was taken, placed a stop of around 13 pips below this candle low, waited for this candle to basically create a low, and yeah, secured around 12 pips on this trade. It was 10 US dollar profit, and on the first two trades I was up around 15 US dollar, 1.5% on my account. At that point I should have called the day and just come back next day. Basically on Monday emotions took control of my trading. I didn't manage my psychology and my emotions and my risk very well on Monday. I basically admit that. All right. So this trade was basically taken based on M30 time frame. Once we closed right in here, it was my anticipation that we can continue pushing up, but basically we do broke above this zone, but we didn't closed above this zone. So actually I should have waited, or I shouldn't have executed this trade at first place. This was my mistake. It was totally wrong trade as per my patterns, as per my trading plan. And the second mistake I did was I basically just let it run. I didn't manage to my risk to full potential, and I basically admit this mistake. And it was basically a huge blow. I lost around 10 US dollar on this account. So yeah, I should I either shouldn't haven't took this trade at all. If I executed this trade, I should have managed my risk. Once Actually, I should have waited for M5 candle to create a lower wick first and then execute. If we look at timing on this, the timing is basically right. I waited for 5 minutes to create a lower wick, In my opinion, it created a lower wick first and then continued pushing up. But yeah, this is the way things are. But I should have managed my risk. I didn't basically managed my risk to my full potential and lost around 10 US dollars on this trade, 10 pips loss. And yeah, it was basically very bad trade as per risk management, price action, and as per my trading plan. So I will take this trade into my account, and in future I will be very careful that I will not violate my trading plan. Alright, on 2nd of August we basically took 3 trades. One trade was in GBP/JPY, which is a losing trade, and 2 trades were in gold. Those were also losing trades. So Tuesday I basically lost entire 3 trades. Now let's look at those trades on 2nd of August. All right. On 2nd of August, the trend was very bearish, and I was pretty much sure that once we break below these lows, we will continue pushing down. But the whole idea is it was a very late execution. If we look at M30 time frame, the previous 3 M30 candles were dropping. We have already dropped like 63 pips on 3 M30 candles. So I should have basically waited for retracement and maybe execute once we start breaking below lows right in here on next 30-minute candle, but it didn't broke below the low, so this trade didn't make sense at all. Lost around 2 US dollars and pretty well managed my risk, so I am totally okay with that. And later on an excellent trade setup appeared. Let me show you that trade setup. Although the trend in H4 was very bearish right in here, if we look at, we were dropping in previous 4 H4 candles, and if we go back to this trade, was basically we failed to break below the lows in London session and in New York session, and later at NYSE we basically moved up, consolidated in this area. So once we break above this, once this M15 candle closed above all the candles to left, and the next 15-minute candle created a lower wick first and then started breaking above the high. I should have executed this trade by placing a stop loss of 15 pip, and I could have captured like 100 pips on this trade. But I guess this is the way things are, and I am still learning, and I hope so in future we will be able to capture these moves. And on 2nd of August basically executed 2 trades in gold. Both of them were losers. Let's look at them. So on 2nd of August I was pretty much sure that we have bullish trend in gold, and I was anticipating buys. So this trade was basically right in here. Lost around 6 US dollars on this trade, and it was counter trend trade with a rejection or on previous M15 candle. So I was basically anticipating that if we break below previous M15 candle, we can continue pushing down to potentially fill this wick, but that didn't happen, and I basically closed everything in 6 US dollar loss. And if I look at it more objectively without any reservation right now, after almost 4 days have already passed, I can now see that this trade was altogether a wrong trade and violation of my trading plan. It isn't according to any trading pattern that I have mentioned, so I should have avoided that. I should have waited for trades as per my trading plan. Alright, and took another trade in gold later on, which is in line with the trend, and I was pretty much sure that we are pushing up. And this trade I basically did an early execution. Once M15 minute candle closed, I basically executed in first 1 minute of this M15 candle. Basically, at that point, I forget that Comet Comex will open in 4 minutes from this trade. I just basically forget about that and I paid the price in the form of losses. If I waited for Comet Comics, executed execute my trade right in here on next M5 candle, I could have secured like 50 pips on this trade and it could have put me like 5% profits for the week, but that didn't happen, so we will not take that into consideration. And later on, these two trades appeared. These two trades were based on pattern 3. We will not discuss that because we have already discussed about that in our live stream. And on 3rd of August, basically just took one trade. On 3rd of August, took one trade in gold, which was sell. Lost around 5 US dollar on this trade, and it was in gold. If we look at gold, yeah, right in here again I repeated the same mistake. I repeated the same mistake in this trade. If we look at in M5 time frame, yeah, right in here, I basically executed when the candle was about to close in 4 minutes. I actually should have waited for candle to close. If this trade was executed on next candle, basically we created an upper wick first and then we created a lower wick and then closed right in here. If this candle was only executed on next candle, I could have secured this move of 39 pips and it could have put me in massive profits. But still I managed my low risk and everything went smooth and basically learned a lesson from this trade and made profits. This was the profit I made later on, and we will look at that later on. And on 4th of August, on Thursday, basically took 5 trades. 4 of them were in gold, and one of them was in GBP So let's look at 4th of August in gold. All right. So basically, still I don't have an emotional control over my trading. I executed this short position. This was the trade. I basically got stopped out. It wasn't a right trade because trend was bullish. If you look at H4 time frame, let me show you. This trade was executed right in here, somewhere around here when the previous 3 H4 candle was bullish. It makes sense for the next H4 candle to wick low first and then continue pushing up. But still I executed this on this trade and and managed risk. Overall, it was not a right trade, but still managed risk and close in 5 US dollar loss. Actually, I should have waited for this trade, and on these two trades were later taken out based on pattern one. Pattern one is basically when once we fake out below the zone and continue pushing in opposite direction. So it is basically based on that. So I took two trades. One of them was early execution. Yeah, right in here it was this trade. Once the candle clo closed, I executed in first 3 minutes. I should have waited for this candle to break above previous high at least. And yeah, I did a mistake on this trade, and once I it goes against me, I managed my risk, closed majority of my position. Remember, my stop loss were around below these wicks, around 10 pips. Let the small percentage of my position running, and at this point, once we were in here, I knew that I have made a mistake and it was an early execution, and it makes sense for me to give a second chance to this trade. And I basically, this trade was basically a second chance to first trade, and both these trades went in profits, secured around 16 pips on these trades, made around 5 US dollars in profit. And the fourth trade was taken in GBP JPY. If we look at GBP JPY, 4th of August. Yeah, right in here it was new trade, and it was based on pattern 3. It was very good trade. Actually, I should have gone with my full risk because my terminal didn't hang out. Few seconds of news candles have successfully passed, so I should have executed this trade with my full risk by placing a stop of around 27 pips. I could have secured this entire position, and I closed this position pretty much early. I should have hold this trade at least for 100 pips. So I was basically just testing, and I have now made promise that I will not execute on new scandal. And yeah, I will not execute due to lot of slippages, spread, and commission issues. I will not execute on new scandal. Even on a small lot, it was a small lot because I knew that it is news time and anything can happen. And the last trade was taken in gold. It was let's look at this gold. Yeah, this trade I have learned the lesson from previous losing trade right in here, which was 4 US dollar loss on 3rd of August. It was basically an a 1 M5 candle early execution, and on this candle I waited for, this was pretty much a good execution. I waited for candles to close. Once it created an upper wick, I executed on this trade, secured 10 pips, but it went in like 35 pips in profits before it hit my entry point. Once this M5 candle closed like this, I was pretty much sure that we are dropping, but I didn't execute it on that, and I could have secured like profits, but anything that is outside of trading history is not counted. So it is just a knowledge for upcoming days where I know that I will execute on this this sort of setup, and I actually executed on this setup in GBP JPY. This trade, it was very similar to this pattern right in here. So yeah, and on 5th of August basically took 5 trades again. 3 of them were losers, 2 of them were winners. And let's look at those trades. The 3 trades were taken in GBP JPY. Alright, the first trade was basically taken in an anticipation that if we break above previous candle high, we can continue pushing up, but it was a wrong trade. I shouldn't have executed this trade at all, but managed my risk, and yeah, but I will take into account, I will re-watch this video, and I will create a hard copy journal of mistakes and trade that I shouldn't have taken, and I will review this video and my writings in 48 hours later, just to basically repeat the things so that my mind can grab and absorb the information, and basically it I want the information to leave a permanent mark on my memory. That's why I will repeat this information after 24 hours and again after 48 hours. So it was a wrong trade, but still I managed my risk, and the next trade was taken based on the trades setups that I have shown you in M5. Let's go straight to M5 candle. It was the big win for the week. So basically what was happening, we basically did a fake out above this area, and if we look at M15, it was based on pattern 1 that we have done the fake out, and there was probability for prices to at least fill the previous week at 16 pips, and there was zone at that point, and if we break below that zone there was probability that we will fill the entire range. Secured $50 on this trade, made $20 profits. Alright, let's look at M5, how I was able to execute on this trade. Alright, we will start from 30-minute candle. So this 30-minute candle closed with a weak rejection. At that point I was unsure where prices can move, eh, because this wick basically at that time seems to me a rejection wick, and once on next uh, all right, this is the start of 30-minute candle, and this is 15-minute candle. So once this 50-minute candle created an upper wick, I was pretty much sure that we have created a high for current M30 candle, and I can execute a short position. And once this M5 candle closed like this, executed short on next M5 candle, and M15 minute candle was about to close in 5 minutes. This was last M5 candle of 15-minute candle, but I still executed it because I can see this pattern which was similar to 2 losing trades that I have already shown you in gold. I was pretty much sure that we can continue pushing down. I executed once we start breaking below the low of previous 2 M5 candles right in here. Placed a stop of, initial stop was 12 pips and $8, and I was basically willing to manage my risk. I should have closed like 50% once we break above on candle high, but since that didn't happen, so my risk management defense mechanism doesn't kick in, doesn't get activated. And once we fill the week, I secured 50% of profits at 16 pips. And once we break below this zone, I secured another 50% of my position, and the entire position was closed in overall 50 pips profit. So it was the big winner for the week. And next trade was taken in GBP JPY. It was pretty much a right trade. If we look at M30, the previous M30 candle closed a weak bearish candle, and it was my anticipation that we can potentially keep pushing down to fill this week's. But the whole idea is that we were rejecting from the strong H4 support, and once this M30 candle closed like this, I was pretty much sure that we are not moving down, we are above, we will move up to potentially fill this week. It was on yesterday NFP New York session live stream. I was willing to execute on this trade, but I didn't execute it because of high volatile news event. And if we look at this trade, it went in like 130 pips of profit, but that's not the point at this point. And if we look at gold, this trade was on gold. We took two trades on 5th of August, and if we look at gold, I basically placed a sell stop right in here. My bias in gold at that point was sells, and it was news trade. I executed with very small lot. We got a slippage of around 17 pips. Once I get that sort of slippage, I didn't just I didn't wait it, and I closed everything in minor loss. It is not a minor loss, it is 7 pips of loss, but this is the way things are. And the next trade was taken on gold, which was the last trade for the week. It was taken based on the fact that there was very strong zone in here. It was H4 zone. If I remember from New York session live stream, prices did they fake out below this area, and it was based on pattern 3. And I basically executed once we start breaking above the high of previous M5 candles, secured 10 pips, secured around 17 pips, but made 10 US dollar on this trade. Overall, I am up around 17 US dollar profits minus commission, up for 5 US dollar profit. If we look at, there are 4 to 5 trades that I shouldn't executed on at all, and there is one trade that I should have managed my risk very better on that trade. And if I look at it, I can see that I have made a mistake of around 20 US dollar. Today, if I didn't made those mistakes, I could be up around 25 US dollar, but this is the way things are. And these mistakes are gonna happen because it is my second month trading live. I have traded live before, but it is my second month in which I am following my trading plan. These are just pen mistakes. Whenever a kid starts writing, he will basically make a lot of pen mistakes, pen slips, and yeah, that's basically happened in here. And I will take care of those things in future. And I also basically have missed moves which if I could have captured, I will be in massive profits for the week, at least 5% for the week. But this is the way things happen. These two moves, it basically triggered my emotions. These two move, like this move this down move on NFP, it was pretty much expected. And in GBP JPY, this up move was also expected. I didn't execute it because of NFP. These moves were hidden behind NFP news time. So these these once I miss these trades, my emotions get basically triggered, because if even I capture one of these trades, I could be up around 2 to 3% on my account. But still, profits are profit, even small or bigger, it doesn't matter. The important thing that I have learned in this week is risk management. Risk management is the key, and only executing on high probability setups is the key. We can't control anything in forex market except our risk and accept our emotional status. So yeah, that's all for this week recap, and I hope you are fine, and I will see you guys on London Forex session live stream.